Alright, so let's create this material iPhone in the system. The transaction to create a material is MM01 and of course MM02 to change it and MM03 to display it. So hit enter. The first thing that it's going to ask you is of course the material name. Materials typically are alphanumeric. It can be numeric if you want. If you use the standard material type of finished goods or FERT, F-E-R-T, you end up with an alphanumeric material name. Now why do I talk about the material type here? And what's the significance of the material type? In the customer master, we have talked about the customer account group. So let me go here to the blackboard. So when we talked about the customer or the customer master, the key that controlled how that customer master behaved is driven by customer account group. When you talk about materials, the key or the controlling parameter for materials is what's called as the material type. I'm not going to talk about material types because for an SD consultant, we don't bother too much about material types. The reason being, we don't configure it ever. The MM consultant configures it and we just happen to use them. But we need to know the basic material types that are used. FERT is finished product. So all finished products use this material type. DIEN is service. There's not a tangible goods. If it's service, DIEN is used. There are a couple more that are important, but the most important point that you should understand is each of these material types dictate the way that material behaves. And the most important piece of this behavior is based on the views that this material type allows. If you take FERT and take a material, say iPhone model 5 and industry sector is retail, it's a material, you can change it and click OK. These are the views that I was talking about. When I mean a view, it's similar to the view in the customer master. In customer master, we talked about three views: general view, sales view, company code view. Just three views. But we have seen more than three departments use the material master. Remember? There was the purchasing department. There was the sales department, there was the finance department, there is the marketing department, there is quality, warehouse, so on and so forth. So many different departments. And not all materials require all different departments. If you want to give me an example, I can give the example of service. A service is not stored, right? A service is performed, it's not stored. So what happens in case of service? You don't need an MRP department, for example, because it's not manufactured, or you don't need a warehouse department, for example, because they are not stored. But for a finished product, you might need these departments. And which departments or views are enabled for a particular material is based on the material type. If you want to create a spa service like a massage therapy, you'd be creating using a different material type, say DIEN. But in this case, we are creating an iPhone, which is a finished goods. So we're going to stick with FERT. Hit OK. And you got the basic data 1. And you got sales data. You got MRP data. Now I'm picking and choosing some views only. Why? Because these are the only views that you'll be needing at this point. And in order to do what might be the next question. So in order to create an order, deliver it, bill it, receive the money, these are the minimum departments that are required. Basic data, sales data, MRP1, and accounting 1. If necessary, the storage 1. Now we are not going to use the warehouse management, so we are not going to pick that. If you do some third party purchases, you might be needing the purchasing department, but we are not going to need that for regular cases. So these are the bare minimum required views for any SD consultant. So select them and click OK. Depending on the views that you have selected, it will ask you to identify the respective departments. You have selected the MRP view, which is the view that's related to manufacturing. So it's saying, okay, you want to maintain view for which plant? I know that I'm going to maintain it for 1200 or 1000, any plant that's associated with sales org 1000. So we are doing this for Germany. German sales org, German storage location, sorry, this one is 1000. And German distribution channel, German plant, and MRP profile is not required. And click OK. And we can start with creating our material master. The first field after you give the material number is of course the material name. So this is iPhone version 5. It could be black, for example. I don't know, I'm just making it up. And it has such and such a screen or whatever description you want to give. And how is it sold? Is it sold in liters? Is it sold in gallons? Of course not. It's sold as a piece. So it's piece by piece. Material group. Remember this field when we talked about Apple changing its product line or Best Buy changing its product line? A material group, we're going to discuss about this in the next chapter called material classification or grouping, is a way to group materials. Why we group them is something we're going to learn about. But this is a way to group a material, and you can create your own material groups by just going and clicking on this new button. I am going to just select a material group. Say, what should I do? Electronics. And then we have old material number. What's an old material number? Let's say your company is migrating from some Oracle or some other technology based ERP into SAP. So all along they've been selling the same materials. The material over there could be called IP500 for iPhone 500. In SAP they want to call it as iPhone -5. Well, it's good. They have a more meaningful name now. But sometimes it's nice to refer to the old name in SAP because all along they've been using those old names. Now all of a sudden, SAP comes over a Saturday or a Sunday and the old ERP is gone. People still remember the name IP500, but this is a new name. So in order for users to kind of have a reference to the older name, when you create this material iPhone 5, the old material number can be IP500. Where do we put that? We put that here. So if a user wants to search for a material by old material number, they can just use that term. I'll tell you how you can use that when we go search or change the material master. And the same classification that was used in the older system can be applied here. This is called external material group. Okay, the division is not mandatory, so you don't need it. We'll talk more about divisions when we come to enterprise structure. The lab office is used when you have a research facility and so on. And then product hierarchy, cross-plant, material status, and so on are not necessary at this point. We don't need to worry too much about them. We are going to talk about product hierarchy in a different chapter, but we're not going to cover all the fields anyway. We're going to focus on some of the fields, and I want you to stay focused on those fields only. Don't worry about all the different fields. There are hundreds of them. You don't really want to bother about all of them. Okay, and then next we have gross weight. What is gross weight? Gross weight is the gross weight of a product along with its packaging. Let's say it's 0.5 kilo or pounds. Net weight, the way you do 0.5 is a little weird. So let's say 1 kilo. And the net weight is a little less than that, right? So 0.2 kilos. The volume of the product can also be mentioned, like it's so many cubic centimeters or so many cubic meters, depending on the nature of the product. So you can just put your number there and you select a volume unit. It's cubic meter or deciliter or whatever. Next, we have size and dimensions. All these things like size, dimension, volume, gross weight, net weight can be used in logistics, especially if you are doing your own handling. It's very effective when you have the net weight, gross weight, and volume for every material, so that you can estimate freight very easily. Okay, I'm going to sell you 1,000 iPods. How much is it going to cost you for the freight? It's going to cost you so many pounds or so many dollars, because we're going to charge you freight by pound, and the total weight of 1,000 iPods or iPhones is going to be so many kilos or pounds. If you're not going to do your own shipments, maybe FedEx is doing it for you, it might not be all that relevant. But still, it's good from an estimation perspective, because right at the time of creating a sales order, you need to give your customer an estimate of the freight that you're going to charge the customer. How would you know the freight when FedEx is not there yet in the picture, but you know the weight? And that's going to help the company in estimating the freight. And then we have EAN and UPC codes. EAN stands for European Article Number, and UPC stands for Universal Product Code. These are all universally recognized product codes that the company needs to go and register with, and any shop, any customer can just go scan it and find out what that product is. Now this EAN or UPC codes are typically used in the consumer industry. iPhone is a good example. But for a large equipment, say a generator for a power company, I don't think EAN or UPC codes are required, because they are not consumer oriented. And before I move to the different options here or different views, let me just quickly go to the additional data. In additional data, you can maintain the different units of measure, and you can maintain the descriptions in different languages. For example, you can maintain the description in German. Maybe in Germany, it's called iPhone 5 black with a double K. I don't know, I'm just making it up. Maybe in Italy, it's called something else. And that's what needs to be printed on sales orders, invoices, and deliveries as the description. So you can maintain different languages for the same material. And of course, you have so many different things that you can do here, but let's not get distracted. Let's get back to the main data and click OK. Now we are moving on to the next view that has been selected. In this view, we have a sales unit of measure. This is very interesting. There are different units of measure: base units of measure, sales units of measure, purchasing units of measure, Transportation units of measure, what are they?